Good morning to all. Welcome back to our session on the C programming concepts. In today's session, I am going to discuss about a topic on the strings in C. So, in this present session, we are just going to go through the introduction part related to the strings. So, what I am planning in today's session is what actually is a string, and after that we will go through the declaration of the strings. How do we declare the string? And then another important point of initializing the strings. How do we initialize the string? And one more important point related to the strings, that is, how do we assign values to strings, whether it is possible to use the assignment operator with respect to the strings or not. This is what we are going to discuss. This is one important topic you should concentrate. You may get a question on MCQs, or you may be asked a question on this particular point in the Viva voice also, right. Next important point regarding the strings is how do we read strings. So, there should be a provision to read the strings from the user. So, how we are going to do this thing? This is what we are going to discuss. And finally, how do we write the strings? Writing the strings means how do we write, or what functions we are going to use to print the strings onto the output screen. This is what we are going to discuss. And there are so many advanced topics like how do we pass strings to functions, and how do we use pointers to make use of strings. All these things we will discuss in the next coming sessions. But for today's session, I am going to confine my discussion on what strings are, how do we declare the strings, how do we initialize the string, and how do we assign the values to strings, and finally we will go with reading and writing the strings. So, if possible we will go with the practical implementation also with simple examples, right. So, the first topic which I am going to discuss is what actually is a string. This strings is nothing new topic. We have already seen the concept of arrays, where an array is a collection of elements of similar data type which are stored in the consecutive memory locations. This definition we are very much clear, right. Similarly, when we go to the actual meaning of the string, this is not the definition of the string. The meaning of the string is nothing but collection of characters. For example, if you take the name like university, or you can also take the name as college, or whatever name you want to take, you can take it, right. You can observe here that this is nothing but a collection of characters, and these collection of characters you can observe that it is a collection of similar data type. So, what we have, the meaning of the array is a collection of elements of similar data type. Here also, when we take the string, it is nothing but the collection of characters. So, a string is nothing but a collection of characters. So, the actual definition of string is, you can say that it is a collection of characters. But how do we declare the strings? This is what we are going to discuss right now. How do we declare the strings? As we know that the string is nothing but collection of characters. So, we can expand this saying that it is collection of elements of same data type which are nothing but the characters. So, by definition of arrays, you can declare a character array. Remember that there is no special data type that is given for these strings. We have the data types like int to declare the integer, float to declare the float values, char to declare the char values, double like that. So, we have so many data types that are supported in C programming language, but there is no specified data type that is used to specify the strings in C. So, we are making use of the concept of arrays to deal with strings. Whenever you want to declare a string or whenever you want to write a program related to string, what you have to do is you have to declare an array of characters, or else we can also say that character array. So, remember that there is no special data type that is used to define the string data type in C, there is no special keyword. So, we are going to make use of the concept of arrays. So, a character array is used to deal with strings. So, you can also say that a string is nothing but a character array in C. Now, coming to the part of declaring the array, how do you declare the string? This is very important. So, till now we have discussed that we are going to declare a string by making use of character array. So, it is very simple that whenever you want to deal with strings, you just declare a character array. We know how to declare an array. The general syntax for array is you have to start with the data type and then the array name, and you have to specify the size. This is what we have learned to declare, how we are going to declare the arrays. In the similar fashion, when you want to declare the string or the character array, the data type should be very specific, that it should be char, and array name is an identifier. So, whatever rules you are going to follow for identifiers in C programming language, you should also follow for the array name also. So, let me take an example of C as my array name, and after that you have to open this square brackets. Within the square brackets, you have to specify the size of the array. Let me take the size as 5. What does this 5 specify? Means this character array C is capable of holding 5 characters. It is capable of holding 5 characters. This is how we are going to declare a character array. We will take another example. For example, if I want to declare a string that can hold 50 characters, for this purpose you have to declare a character array which starts with char, and the name can be anything. Let me take the name as string. So, string is nothing but the name of the array, and I am putting the restriction that this string array is going to hold 50 characters. So, the size should be 50 like this. By looking at this declaration, you can say that string is an array of characters and it is going to hold 50 characters. So, the maximum number of characters that you can give for this particular string is 50. That is how we are going to declare the string. And coming to the third topic, that is the initialization, very important topic. The initialization of the string is very much similar to that of initialization of arrays. We have seen in the previous discussions how when we are initializing the integer array or whenever you are initializing a floating point array, the similar rules should be applied to the initialization part of the arrays also or the strings, right. Let us go back to the initialization part of the integer array. When I have an integer array, let us say int x of 5. When I want to initialize, we have discussed that the declaration should have the assignment operator followed by the list of elements which you want to initialize, which are separated by commas, and then you conclude it with a statement terminator. This is a very simple initialization where you can initialize the array with some initial values. So, what happens here is x of 0, that is the first element will be 10, this is the second element which have an index of 1, and x of 2 will be 30, x of 3 will be 40, and finally, we have x of 4 here. But coming to the initialization of strings, we have two different ways. When we broadly categorize this initialization, we have two different ways. One is either you can initialize the string with double quotes, that means the entire string has to be given in a single stretch, or else you can initialize the string with a list of character constants. We know that any string or any sequence of characters that are enclosed within double quotations is treated as string or string constant. This we have discussed while discussing the concept of constants. And any single character enclosed within single quotes is called as the character constants. So, the point here is when you want to initialize the strings, you can do the initialization either with the string constant or with the character constant. When you initialize the string with the string constant, you have to give the entire string and it should be enclosed within double quotes. And when you initialize the string with character constants, this is the way you are going to follow. That means, all the character constants are separated by comma operator and they should be enclosed within the curly braces like this. And one important point you should remember here, I will tell you very important point regarding the strings, right. Let us take an example here. The first example, by making use of string constant, I declare a character array char c of 10, and initialization means it should be accompanied, the declaration should be accompanied with an assignment operator followed by the string constant. Let me take the string as college. So, this is the first way of initializing the string with the string constant. And remember here, very important, when you declare the character array like this C of 10, we know very well that in C programming language the memory will be allocated at the time of declaration itself. So, at this particular point, that means when the compiler comes at this particular point of declaration, it will allocate 10 bytes of memory. Why? Because I have declared the size of the C array as 10. So, 10 characters it can hold, and we know that the size of a single character is 1 byte. So, 10 bytes, that two contiguous memory locations will be allocated. This is 0 index 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. So, 10 characters are there, and you have initialized with the string COLLEGE. So, the first character will be placed in 0th index, second character will be placed in first index, third, fourth, fifth, sixth and seventh. And remember that while you are dealing with these strings, the compiler will automatically allocate a special character at the end of every string. That special character is called as \0. So, this is called as null character. You should not specify it externally. This is very important. Though you are not specifying it externally, what the compiler will do is it will allocate a special character, or it will append a special character which is called as null character at the end of every string. It is not your responsibility, it is the responsibility of the compiler to put this null character as the last character. So, automatically that \0 will be stored here. So, this \/ character plays very important role in all the string functions. Whatever functionality you want to do with the strings, that is going to be including this \0. So, this \0 is used to identify the end of the string. Why? Because the compiler is automatically embedding this \0 as the last character in the string or in the array. So, this \0, the purpose of \0 is to identify the end of string. This is my first example of how we are going to initialize the strings with a string constant. In the similar lines, we have another thing, right? char C of college. This is also accepted. Here we are not specifying the size of the array. We are not specifying the size of the character array or string, but still this will work perfectly. Basically, the size of the array is a mandatory thing when we are going to declare an array. But when we are initializing the array, we have seen this concept in the initialization of integer arrays also. When we are initializing the array, there is no need to specify the size. Why? Because how many characters you have in the string that you have initialized, those many characters or those many memory locations will be allocated automatically by the compiler. This particular point you should be very careful, right. So, what happens in this case is, how many characters are there? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 characters are there. So, how much size memory will be allocated? This 7 characters plus 1 character \0. Remember that this \0, the null character, even though we have 2 symbols here, the 2 symbols will be combinedly called as a single character. That means, they are treated as a single character, no 2 characters here. That is another important point you should understand. At this particular point, it will allocate 7 characters or 7 bytes of memory at this point for this college, and one more location for storing this \0. So, this is what happens here. COLLEGE, and here we will have backslash 0. That's it. So, these are the two examples that illustrate how we are going to initialize the strings with string constant. Now, let us move our discussion to the next topic of how we are going to initialize the strings with character constants. Initialization of strings using character constants. I will take an example here. For initialization, the first part what you have to do is you have to declare the array. So, char, again I am taking the name of the string as C. Let me take the size of the array as 5, and for initialization with character constants I told that you have to make use of the curly brace. Open your curly brace and you take the characters as, sorry, this is a single quotation, U, next character is C followed by comma operator, and next character is E. These are enclosed within single quotations, you can observe here, right. And then we have another character K, and remember here it is your duty to incorporate or to add the backslash 0 as the last character. While initializing the strings with character constants, be careful that you always end the initialization part with backslash 0. And we will take the second example, that means we are not going to specify this size, that is it. So, we have char C of, again I will take the same string with U, C, E and K character strings and backslash 0 like this. These are the two ways where we can initialize the strings in C using character constants. You may have a doubt. So, what happens when we do not put this backslash 0? Nothing will happen, it will work perfectly. But it is a convention that we always mention the backslash 0 at the end of the string while you are initializing the string with character constants. If you do not put this one, nothing wrong will happen, everything will work perfectly, but it is just a convention. So, this is what initialization of strings is, and the next topic is assigning. This is the fourth topic, assigning values to strings. That means, here we are going to discuss about whether we can use the assignment operator for strings or not. Assignment operator means is equal to. Can we use the is equal to symbol here? This is what we are going to discuss. The important point regarding this assignment operator with respect to strings is the strings cannot be assigned a value. That means, we cannot use the assignment operator for strings. Let me take a simple code. Initially, I am declaring a character array of size 5. Remember, initialization is different, assignment is different. So, here what happened here, this is a declaration, therefore, the compiler will allocate 5 bytes of memory for this one, and all of them have the garbage value. The reason why it is garbage value means we have seen the concept of storage classes, and the default storage class for any type of declaration is auto, and the default value for this automatic variable is garbage. So, for this reason you did not mention any storage class before this character array. So, this character array automatically is treated as auto, and by default the default value of the automatic variables is garbage. So, basically everything will be garbage, all the 5 locations will have the garbage storage. And now I try to make use of the assignment operator to give the string. So, I try like this, C is equal to UCEK. It will throw an error. This assignment is not at all possible in C programming language. So, remember that you cannot make use of the assignment operator for the strings. This is not valid, but initialization is possible, right? Like previously we have seen 5 is equal to UCEK. This is perfect. For example, if you do not know what value you are going to take, so after declaration how we can assign some value to this character array means we have some string handling functions, where one of the string handling functions is string copy. We will see all these string handling functions in the next coming session. We have a function called string copy, which can be used to copy the string into this array, but never ever try to use this assignment operator to assign some string to the character array, never allowed. This is another important point, you should keep it in mind. And then we will move to the 5th topic of reading strings from user. We have the standard input function called as scanf. So, the scanf we are going to make use of for any input function, whether you want to input integer value or whether you want to input the floating point value, characters, anything. For anything, when you want to read some value from the user, you are going to make use of a function called scanf. Similarly, we can also make use of scanf for reading the strings from the user, very simple concept. When you look at the syntax of scanf, we know that the scanf consists of 2 different parts. Here we have the format specifiers, and here we have the list of addresses of variables. Addresses means we will get it with this ampersand symbol. So, these are format specifiers and these are the list of addresses of variables. These format specifiers specify what value you are going to read from the user. For example, if you are reading an integer value, we have the format specifier as %d. Char, we have the format specifier as %c. Float, %f, like this. So, is there any format specifier that is supported in C to get the strings from the user? Yes, there is a format specifier for reading the strings. Strings in C programming language can be read by making use of a format specifier called %s. This format specifier, it is not only used for reading the value or reading the string, It is also used to output the string also. So, remember that the strings have a format specifier of %s. S stands for string. So, in the similar lines, we can make use of the scanf function to read the strings from the user. Let me take a simple example of how we are going to read the strings by making use of the scanf. For reading the values into the string, basically you have to declare the string like this. That means you have to declare the character array. Okay. After this, you prompt the user to enter the string. So, what you will do? You will ask, please enter a string. And when the user starts entering the string, you have to make use of the scanf function with the format specifier %s. Give the address of variables. Where I want to store this string means the user entered data will be stored in the string array. So, I can give the address of string. So, whatever value that is entered by the user, that will be stored inside the string characters or string array. And one important point you can understand here is, for reading and writing the strings, or for reading the strings, you can skip the address of operator. Though you specify and you do not specify, everything will work perfectly. So, instead of giving this ampersand string, you can directly give the name of the array by skipping this ampersand symbol. This is only possible with respect to strings, but for reading the integer, character, float, everything should make use of the ampersand symbol to read the values. Why the scanf has a special syntax with only strings? Means scanf can make use of or can skip this ampersand symbol. The reason is, we know that the name of the array string here, or somewhere else I can take the name of the array as C. The name of the array indicates the first location. We should know the concept of pointers here. So, when we discuss the concept of pointers, we will again come back to this point and we will discuss it. So, every array or every array name will be pointing to the first location by default. When the user tries to give a string at this location, it is already, that means the array name is already pointing to the first location, like this. For example, I have like this. By default, the array name will be pointing to the first location. So, there is no need to specify address of string. String itself means it is going to point out to string of 0. This is very important. So, you can skip the ampersand symbol while you are reading the values from the for the strings or the character arrays with scanf. This is the first method. Let us go. Is there any other way to read the string externally from the user into our array? Yes, there is another result. But before that, you should understand the disadvantage of this scanf function. Right. The disadvantage of this scanf function is, the scanf function will be reading the strings up to white space or up to a tab space. That means, let me take the example. For example, if the user tries to give the string as computer science, computer space science. Let me take the size as 50. When the user tries to input the string as computer space science with scanf and this %s, we know the disadvantage with the scanf that it is going to read the string up to the first white space. So, the first white space has occurred after the computer and before the science. The scanf function is going to store the computer only, it is not going to store the science. This is the primary disadvantage with the scanf. But you should have a provision to store the entire line of characters or entire line of strings, right. So, for this purpose, when we have a single word, we can make use of scanf. But when we want to read a line of strings or a line of words, then we have some other function called as gets. This is a predefined function, gets is a predefined function or library function, we can also say it as library function, which is capable of reading a string from the user. Let me take an example here. The same thing, you have to declare a character array char C of 50, okay. Then you prompt the user printf please enter a string, and then instead of scanf what you will do is you will use this gets. Gets stands for get string from the standard input device, that is keyboard, and this gets function will be accepting one parameter which is nothing but the name of the character array. Here the name of the character array what I in this specific example is C, therefore, I put C here. So, after the execution, let us go with the execution. After this the memory will be allocated and then please enter a string will be printed onto the standard output device, that is monitor, and if the user tries to put a string or if he wants to give an input string like computer science, since you are making use of the gets function, it is going to take the entire computer science string and it is going to store inside this character array. So, there is no limitation here, no white spaces, no tab spaces, nothing it will consider. So, this particular space is also considered as a single character. If you go and count the number of characters here, it will print as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 characters for computer, SCI 7 characters for science and 1 character for space. So, 8 plus 8 it will be 16 characters. Always remember that space is also considered as a single character. So, this is one method of taking the entire line or reading the entire line of words from the user or from the standard input device. But what happens here is this gets function is deprecated. This is no more a function in the recent compilers. It has been removed because of some security issues. So, we will try to make use of this gets function also, do not worry, and we will see what it is going to give. Even now also it will work, nothing wrong in it, but it will give some warning message, we will see it. So, scanf function is used to read only one string or one word from the user. When you want to read a line of words, this Scanf function is not at all useful. For this purpose, we are moving towards this getS function, where we can read the entire line of words, but another disadvantage is this particular function is deprecated. It is not being used right now. So, is there any other option? Yes, we have another option which is called as fgets function. Actually, this fgets function is being used with respect to files, which we are going to discuss in the next coming sessions. Files concept, very important concept. This fgets function is also a predefined function which is used to read a line of words. So, these two functions, the getS and fgets, they are used to read a line of words, or you can also say that a sentence. A complete sentence can be read by making use of the getS and fgets. You should know the syntax of fgets. So, fgets function, it will accept 3 parameters. The first one is the array name. The second one is one particular function which is called as size of array name. We know the purpose of size of, right? It is an operator. Remember that size of is not a function in C. It is an operator which gives the size of that particular data type, followed by from where you want to read it. So, we are going to read the strings from the user from the standard input device. So, we have this stdin. For example, if we are dealing with files, we will give the file pointer here, but since we are going to deal with the standard input device, that is the monitor keyboard, standard input device is keyboard, sorry. So, the standard input pointer has to be given here, which is nothing but stdin. Let us take an example here. I am writing the example here. You declare a character array char C of 50, okay, and you prompt the user, please enter the string, okay, this is also done. Now, I am going to use the fgets function. Fgets, it accepts 3 parameters. The first parameter is the name of the array to which you want to store. So, this is C, and the second parameter is making use of size of operator. Size of, you have to specify the name of the array, size of C, and finally, from where you want to read. I want to read the string from standard input. So, I have to make use of stdin pointer. By looking at this, the compiler will come to know that the user is trying to read a string from the standard input device, that is the keyboard. This size of, we know the purpose, it will be giving the number of bytes or the size of the input that is given. So, what is the size of C here? It is 50. So, it is just used to check whether we are going to take the string within the specified length or not. We are going to confine our string for 50 characters. So, for this purpose this is being used, and this C is nothing but the name of the character array. That means, whatever string that is given by the user or whatever sentence of words is given by the user, it is going to store in this character array. These are the 3 functions that are used to read strings from the user. The first one is the Scanf function with the format specifier %s. The disadvantage is it will be reading the string up to the first white space or up to the first tab space. So, to read the entire line of words or the sentence, we have 2 different functions. One is the getS and the second one is fgets. GetS function access only one parameter, that is the name of the array, but it is being deprecated, not being used in the recent compilers. And the third function is fgets function, which has 3 parameters. The first one is the name of the array, the second parameter is the size of operator with the name of the array, and the third one is the pointer to which you want to read the string. Here I am going to read the string from the standard input device, that is the keyboard. Therefore, I am going to use the thing as stdin. So, I have given 3 examples over here. That is all about the reading strings from user, and the last topic what we have is writing strings to output. Output device. Similar to that of reading strings, we have 3 different functions. One is scanf, the second one is gets, and the third one is fgets. In the similar fashion, we have 3 different functions to deal with writing the function or writing the string onto the standard output device. The first one is we are very much familiar with it, that is printf function with %s. This is the first one, and the second one is puts function with the name of the array, and the third one is fputs function. We know that it accepts 3 parameters. The first one is the name of the array, or you can also give the pointer to array, and the second one is there is no need to give the size of operator here, it accepts only 2 parameters. The third one, the second parameter is the file stream, the pointer to file, pointer to file. Do not worry about these pointers and files, pointer to files, we will be discussing in the next coming sessions. But previously we have seen that fgets accepts 3 parameters, that is the array name, the size of the array name, comma, pointer to the file. There we have used the standard input device stream, right, standard input stream, which is stdin. But here we are going to use the standard output stream, which is defined as stdout, standard output device. The concept is very simple, right. We have a string, and when I want to print the string, I will make use of the printf function with the format specifier, and let us assume that the string is C. The name of the character or the name of the array is C. Assume that there is some string here. So, that will be printed onto the output screen. And the second one is also very simple, it also accepts only one parameter, that is the name of the character array. So, you can simply make use of puts of C. And here fputs of what is the name of the array we have, that is C, and we have to use the stream as standard output. So, this one is works perfectly, this one works perfectly, and this one works perfectly. But as we have discussed that puts, since gets is deprecated, puts is also deprecated. These two things, puts and fputs, these are used to print a line of characters or a line of words. These are the introduction concepts that I want to discuss regarding the strings. Let us have a quick recap of what we have discussed. We have started our discussion with what actually is a string. A string is nothing but a collection of characters. You can also define it as a collection of characters that ends with a special character called \0. This is what the definition says. The second topic what we have used is, or what we have discussed is, the declaration of arrays. The declaration of arrays starts with the keyword char, and then we have the array name followed by square brackets, and within the square brackets we have to specify the size. This is how we declare the character array. Remember that one important point we have discussed here is there is no special data type specified in the C programming language to declare the strings. So, we are making use of the concept of character arrays. When you want to deal with strings, remember you always have to declare the character arrays, that is it. And then we have seen the initialization of strings, where we have done in two ways. One is with string constant and another one is with list of character constants. And then we have moved our topic of discussion towards assigning or assignment operator. Remember that you should never use an assignment operator to assign a string to the character array, very important. And then next topic what we have discussed is reading values or reading strings from the standard input device. We make use of scanf with %s, and then we make use of gets function, and then we make use of fgets function. And the last topic what we have discussed is writing to the strings. We make use of printf function with %s, and then we have puts function, and finally we have fgets function, fputs. Here fgets is going to make use of 3 parameters, and but fputs is going to make use of only 2 parameters. This is what I want to discuss regarding the introductory concepts to the strings. That is all for today's session. Thank you one and all for joining the session.